vibe on it. Jesus. Yo, this is probably the longest video I've ever made. Also, I'm a PNG tuber now, I guess. Anyway, welcome to my channel. And to any returning viewers, yes, I've completely rebranded from Jade and Lily Studios to Entity_OddFrog, and I've been planning to do it for a while. With all that out of the way, welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new, hopefully ongoing, series where I spin a wheel and then draw that character. Fair warning, most of this video is unscripted. You will most likely be able to tell what it is and what it isn't. I know I should have scripted in the first place, but I think having some things scripted and some things not will make it easier in the long run. Also, another warning, there is a lot of yapping in this video, but if I can get the chapters working, you can skip to any part of the video you want. But I hope you stay for the whole thing. Okay, I think that's it for the intro, so you're about to go to Unscripted Me from the Past, so tell him I said hi, and I hope you enjoy. What you're seeing on screen right now is a drawing of Jesus. Yes, I am a Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe he died and rose from the dead 3 days later, and that he did it for our sins, and so that we can be saved by our belief in him. That's why I specifically wanted the first drawing in this series. I will talk about the series in a second. I'm a little out of order, but I wanted to start this series with a drawing of Jesus. I don't want this channel to just be me like forcing religion down people's throats. If you don't believe in God, I still want this channel to be accessible to you. I'm not gonna go out like preaching to you or whatever. I will talk about Jesus because, you know, he's a big part of my life, but I'm not just gonna preach to you or anything like that. That's not what I want to do. What this series is, I have this wheel of names that I spin and it gives me a name, and then I draw that character. So there's a bunch of characters on there. Most of them are characters that I've come up with myself, and others are characters that I have not. I want to live stream on this channel as well, just drawing. That way people can talk to me and I can talk to others while just chilling. But anyway, this drawing of Jesus is simply just what I imagine him to be like. If you're looking at it, and if any experienced artists are, well, watching me fumble my way around drawing, please give me some tips. I'm still very much an amateur. My sister is now in the room, so if you hear any noise in the back, that's her. Hey, come over here, say something into the microphone.
I'm eating ice cream.
She is indeed eating ice cream. I can see it. It's pink, blue, and yellow. That's weird coloring for ice cream. Going back to what I was saying before, this channel is just supposed to be me making art and animation and just having a fun time while also talking about Jesus. And I want to have like Christian themes and stuff in my stories. Basically, I'm an amateur artist, writer, and hopefully game developer as well. I'm learning Unreal Engine currently. I still have a lot to learn and a lot to do, but I'm starting this now just so that you can see my journey as I develop my skills and just have fun, I guess. That's the main point that I want to make here, is that I want this channel and my second channel, which I'll talk about in a little bit, just to be a place you can go just to have fun. And you can just have these videos in the background. You don't even have to look at what I'm drawing. You just have these in the background while I just yap, basically. I'm mostly self-taught. I didn't go to school for this stuff. I didn't do anything like that. I've just watched tips on YouTube and different tutorials and stuff and kind of just did things and worked on it until I got to a point where I think I'm generally okay at art. And the second channel. Okay, so this is 𝒴𝒏𝒡𝒏𝒡𝒏𝒡, and then my second channel is ent_oddfrog2. I wanted to call it oddfrog.zip. I like using the file names. The reason why the channel is called ent_oddfrog is because in the source engine, entities are denoted by the ent underscore, and then it's the name of that entity. So that's why it's called ent_oddfrog. I am an entity. In a file, I guess. I don't know. But also, if you can't tell what my avatar is, it's a frog. It's like a short little frog dude. Basically, I portray myself as a little gremlin with an orange hoodie, or orange slime frog. I'm not orange, I'm green. I am a green gremlin little frog person that is also made of slime. It's a very weird avatar to have, I think, but at least I'm not a furry. Going back to my second channel is just a variety channel. The link to it is in the description of my bio, but I want this channel to be focused on art, and whatever live streams I have on this channel is just going to be me drawing and stuff, and then you can chat and talk to me and whatever. But the second channel is just going to be variety, and it's mainly going to be game focused. So this channel is going to be art focused, art, animation, game dev stuff, hopefully. And then the second channel is just going to be random garbage that I come up with. So whatever live streams would be on there would be just live streaming games. I want to have like a Minecraft survival series on that channel because I like Minecraft and I want to play it. The second channel is just going to be a variety channel where I'm not beholden to just doing art. The YouTube algorithm sucks big cojones, so I just want to have a variety channel where I can do whatever I want without having to do just art. I have a lot of trouble making eyes look symmetrical because I'm a dingus, but his whole face shifts at one point, I think, because I realized it just looked off. I still am not entirely happy with the finished product. This is going to be a short segment, so if you're just don't care about what I'm going to say, then that's fine. But I just want to say this real quick because I feel like I should. I want to tell you about how to be saved. If you hear pages turning, it's because I am literally turning pages in my Bible. So bear with me for a second. I don't want to go that far. That's not good. So the main thing about becoming a Christian, you don't need to be good enough for God. You don't have to get better for God before you believe. You don't have to work for anything. That's salvation based on works. Christianity is salvation based on faith. You just simply have to believe. Romans 3:23, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, and all are justified freely by his grace through the redemption that came by Jesus Christ. God presented Christ as a sacrifice of atonement through the shedding of his blood, to be received by faith, but to demonstrate his righteousness, because in his forbearance he had left the sins committed beforehand unpunished. Because Jesus sacrificed himself on the cross, we have a way to get to heaven and to just live a better life with Jesus. We don't have to be slaves to our sin. We can forget all the bad things we did before becoming a Christian, because once we believe and once we truly put our faith in him, all of that doesn't matter anymore because we are forgiven. So if you're on the fence about believing, but you're afraid of death, you're afraid that when you die, like if there is an afterlife, you don't want to go to hell, basically. That's the idea here. If you want to be saved, you have to put your faith and trust in Jesus Christ and live by him. Does that mean you have to completely give up everything that you were doing before? No. Again, God wants you as you are, and a lot of the times God can change what you're doing for the better. And the Bible says, in order to be saved, you must call on the name of the Lord Jesus. So to make Jesus Lord of your life and to truly believe in your heart that he is Lord, that he did what he says he did, that he is who he says he is, that he died on the cross, and that 3 days later he rose again, and that he died and sacrificed himself to atone for our sins. Our sin debt was so great we couldn't pay for it ourselves. God had to send his only son as a human to die for us, to pay what we could not pay. That is what it's all about. And just because you believe doesn't mean you'll be perfect. We all mess up, we all screw up. That's just a part of life. We're still human. We're not perfect, so we're going to get things wrong. We're going to screw up, but we have Jesus to help us in those times and as an advocate for us. And for those suffering, Jesus is always there. He's always someone that you can rely on. You will always have someone you can depend on. Even if your family or your friends abandon you, you will always have Jesus. You can always pray. You will always have him as your friend, as your father. He is always there for you, no matter what. If you're having doubts, if you're having fear or whatever, that's okay, because you can do all things in Christ who strengthens you. I believe that because I have Jesus, he will get me through whatever I need. He will give me whatever I need. And even if my faith is dwindling, Jesus will still be there for me. He will still be there for you. It's not all going to get better immediately if you are suffering, but Jesus will give you a peace beyond all understanding. So if you're on the fence, again, I'd say go to a church, a good church that talks about Jesus and talks about salvation, is willing to help you. And the best advice that I can give you is just pick up a Bible. They're probably pretty cheap. You can probably find a very cheap one. I'd say get a study Bible. It can help you understand it a lot. My translation of choice is the New International Version, just because it's easy to read. It was actually made for people whose first language is not English. So if that's the case, then NIV is probably good for you. Or you can just get a Bible that's in your language. But I just want to say that Jesus loves you. Like, he really does. He did all of this. He died one of the most excruciatingly painful ways anyone could die, and he did all of that for you. He did that for everyone. I just think about that for a moment. But going past all of that, I just want to say that well and truly, Jesus does love you. And it may sound cringy, may sound corny, because I don't know you, but I love you too. Because you are a child of God, and you deserve, well, technically we don't deserve what he did for us, but he did it anyway. It is a love that almost nobody can understand. And by the way, the lamb that Jesus is holding in this artwork is actually a goat. It's not a sheep, it's a goat, apparently. So if there's anybody who actually knows about animals and realizes that, yes, that is a goat. That is not a sheep. It was the only good reference that I could find, so I basically just traced over a goat. But yeah, I just want to say one final thing as encouragement for those suffering anything, whether it be like actual physical things like an illness, or people just being people and being not nice, or if you're struggling through mental issues, mental battles, depression, anxiety, doubts, fear, whatever it may be. I just want to say that Jesus went through everything you can think of. He went through so much tragedy. He lost people. He brought them back, but he lost people. He wept. Jesus was hungry. He had no place to sleep. He went through so much. So don't think for a second that he doesn't understand anything that you're going through, that God doesn't understand what you're going through, because he did it himself. He was God himself, and he became a human. That's crazy, but it's true. I just want you to know that you have the creator of everything, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, God, Jesus. You have all of that rooting for you, rooting for your success. So don't listen to anyone or anything that tells you that you aren't enough, because if you believe in Jesus, then you are enough. Because if you believe in Jesus, that is all you need. Everything else is secondary. So I just want you to know that. I know that may have been a lot, but I wanted to get it out there, and it's something that I've been wanting to talk about. This channel isn't going to be me doing that a lot. I'm just going to be doing art, having fun, writing stories, and animating them. It's just I want to have Christian principles and Christian ideas in my stuff, and I'm not going to be afraid to talk about God or Christianity or Jesus or religion or anything like that on this channel or my second channel, because if I'm afraid to talk about something I believe in, then do I really believe it? I hope that I have explained this thoroughly in a way that is understandable and not just sounds like me incoherently yapping at you. Oh, you might have noticed this other drawing of Jesus. I made this a little bit before. He's severely scarred. That was mainly just to show how much he went through for us. It's just as a way to portray how much suffering he went through just needlessly, because he didn't need to do that. He didn't need to do any of the things he did, but he did because he loves us. That's what that artwork is. He's standing in a field of sheep. That field of sheep was actually just an image that I found on Pinterest, and I just like put because in Krita there's a effect that you can put on stuff called oil paint, I think, where it makes things just look like a painting, kind of. So that's what I did on that, and then I made all the sheep's eyes glow, or like made the glow more noticeable. So, and it's kind of abstract. He's like Jesus just standing in a field of sheep for no reason, but I think it looks cool. So I do plan on making these images wallpapers at some point, so I hopefully when this video comes out there will be in the description, and I might make a pinned comment as well, for all of the artwork shown in this video as wallpapers on Wallpaper Engine. If you don't have Wallpaper Engine, I might be able to find a way for you to just download the image. I might put it on Pinterest or something. I don't know how to do all this stuff, or put it in my community tab thing. Coloring is one of my favorite parts of doing this. I can kind of just like zone out and just make things colorful. Even if I don't think I'm particularly good at it, just adding the shadows and lighting. Doing these 3 artworks, there's 3 artworks in this video. I probably should have mentioned that. Doing these 3 artworks really helped me to understand certain things, and also helped me with just practicing shading. Now, obviously, I'm still learning, so there are things that need to be improved. Again, if any of you have any tips, please tell me of what I can do to make my art better. Yeah, coloring is one of my favorite parts. Shading and all that. It's one of my favorite things to do with these artworks. It's kind of the easiest thing to do for me, at least, or one of the easiest. I'm usually listening to music while I'm doing this stuff, so it allows me to just jam out and give things color. So I wanted to do something very specific with the backgrounds for these, is that they all have this sort of retro-esque style, usually with like grids or just certain patterns in the background, just because I like that sort of thing. I think that aesthetic is really cool. So a lot of times I have like a picture, or at least for this one, I have like a picture in the background and then there's like a grid behind it. Backgrounds is really difficult for me. I love coloring. Making backgrounds, I hate. I despise making backgrounds just because they're very annoying to do. It's like I have to use extra brain power to figure out where I even want any of this to take place. So yeah, the background for this is just a simple grid. The next artwork has a more complicated background, but this one is just a simple grid. The whole reason why I'm doing all this is because I have so many characters and I just have so many things to talk about, or that I want to talk about, and this is a good way to do it. So that's why the whole Wheel of Names thing is a thing, so that way I can just have a name, have something to draw, and then I can talk about whatever I want while doing that. It's kind of like a podcast, except I'm the only member. About this artwork is that there are actually two versions of it. One is a sunset version, and the other is a sunny version. I didn't record me doing the lighting for the sunny one because I'm an idiot, but I do think the sunny version is better, but there is two versions, so you can choose which one you like if you have this as your wallpaper. If you do have it as your wallpaper, thank you, I guess. Throughout this entire video, you're gonna see me just winging it and experimenting most of the time. That's what I'm doing. So this whole thing is getting me really out of my comfort zone, because I've never really done portraits like this at all either. So also, if you would like characters on the Wheel of Names, give me suggestions for characters. Do not suggest any like random freaking anime characters that I don't know. I don't watch anime, really. The only animes that I've seen are Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Super. But yeah, those are the only things that I've seen. This is probably a really bad idea, but like characters that I would know. You have no idea who I am. Characters that are seen in like Smash Brothers, or a lot of Nintendo characters or stuff like that. Don't be afraid to suggest like really simple characters, because a lot of the times that gives me more to work with when doing art. And if they're a simple character, like say Kirby, I can probably draw more poses of that character because of how simple they are. And doing simpler characters and stuff like that would also allow me to do more within a singular video. So right now, this video only has 3 characters drawn within it, but hopefully other videos will have more. I have no idea how long this video is actually going to be, so that's going to be interesting to see while editing. But I think that's about all I have to say about this artwork. So yeah, I'll see you when I'm yapping about the next one, I guess. Have fun and God bless. So this is the Wheel of Names that I was talking about before, and I kind of just spun multiple times until I got a character that I wanted. You may recognize some of these characters, but you probably won't recognize a lot of them because a lot of them are characters that I have made. But yeah, I basically just spun the wheel until I got somebody that I actually wanted to draw. I wanted to save one of my own characters for last. I decided to draw Samus, so that's pretty cool. So I started recording pretty far into planning it out. This artwork that I used as reference was something that I just got from Pinterest. This artwork is the one that tested me the most on my skills, is that I have a lot of issues with perspective. And this really tested me on that because there's a lot of perspective going on here. I have a lot of trouble drawing mouths as well, lips specifically, making them look right based on the perspective of the camera. This is my interpretation of Samus. I made her look a little older, a little wiser, I guess. You'll see later that she's also just freaking jacked beyond belief. She's not super bulky, she's more so just extremely lean and muscular while still keeping her more curvy physique that she's known for. One of the inspirations for her was actually Snake from Metal Gear Solid 4, where he was kind of old but still very fit, so I wanted to do something more like that. I think a older and more wiser Samus is an interesting route for the character. So this is like Samus after she's already been through a lot. I don't actually know that much about Metroid. So the only Metroid games that I've actually played are Super Metroid and Metroid Fusion. I played a little bit of the first one, but yeah, I haven't played any of the more modern ones. So what I know of Samus and her personality is taken more from Smash Brothers than her own games. So also, I think from what I've heard, people don't really like the Metroid Fusion design. I like it. I love biosuits like that. I've never played Warframe. I probably won't because it's not a game that I'm really interested in, but I love the characters' designs from Warframe. Hildren is goated. And I think there's like a newer one that's like an ink person. I don't know. She's cool too. But yeah, it kind of annoys me when people draw Samus as like this more like, I don't know how to explain it. Like where she's super girly and bubbly. I've seen drawings of her that have that sort of aesthetic. I really just don't like that. I think Samus should look more gruff and serious just because she's a bounty hunter in space and she's a genetically modified bounty hunter. She also wears like a heavy metal suit that still allows her to transform into a ball. I don't know how that works. Is it like the shoulder pads? She like roll up and then her big old shoulder pads like curve around her. Is that how that works? It doesn't really make much sense. Same thing with the arm cannon where it's like where does she fit her arm inside of the arm cannon thing? That doesn't really make much sense because it's like the same length as her full arm. So I don't know. Which is why if I were to fully like redesign her, which I kind of did here, but if I were to just do a complete redesign, I would probably give her a like robotic right arm, so that way she can just detach it and then like put the arm cannon on, and that makes more sense to me. With this drawing in particular, like I said before, you'll see me winging it a lot just because I have no idea what I'm doing really at all times. It's just I'm just doing things, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So when it doesn't, I just erase what didn't work and then I redo it until it works. So trial and error is my way of doing things. It's probably not entirely the best thing, but whatever. But yeah, just going back to what I was talking about before, my opinion on Samus is that she should look more gruff and that she should have a more tomboyish look about her, just because I think that fits the whole bounty hunter aesthetic a bit more. She has a sort of confidence about her that I think is really appealing, just from what I've heard of her voice lines. In Super Smash Brothers, she has this very confident, like I've seen everything up to this point, and I'm just like, nothing you can do will surprise me sort of vibe around here, and I think that's really cool. I didn't even finish Super Metroid or Metroid Fusion. I stopped playing it for a while, and then I went back to it, and then I didn't know what I was doing at all, and I had to stop. So I played them on the Switch. You'll see that I'm basically just tracing over the reference. I realized that that is actually really bad, and I actually moved it over to the side so that way I would actually use it as reference instead of tracing over, because tracing over reference is scummy, and I don't want to do that, so I stopped. If you're an artist, don't trace over reference, but use reference for your poses or whatever, because it will make it look a lot better. If I didn't have that reference and I just came up with a pose myself, it would look 10 times worse. And I'm not even exaggerating, that it would look garbage. That's why I posed an actual Samus model in her power suit in SFM, and I used that as the reference, which I basically just traced over that, but I didn't really change the design that much at all. Well, I did a little bit, but I didn't change the design of the power suit that much, so I think it's fine. Plus, I wanted to get these done semi-quickly. If I spent like maybe a couple more days just going around and fixing things, it might have looked better. But thing is about art, you have to find a stopping point, because there's all kinds of things you can change, all kinds of things you can add, and if you just keep adding stuff and keep changing things, then you're never going to stop. So you need to find a stopping point when it comes to this stuff. I made the opacity on the reference really low, and I started using it more as a guideline rather than just purely tracing over it. Another reference for her back muscles of I think a female bodybuilder. It's always good to get references, either other art that people have made or actual real life images is always good to get reference. Without reference, your art will probably not be as good as it could be, and that's nothing against your skills as a whole. Reference and looking at things that are in real life is how you become a better artist. A lot of the times I forget that and I just try to wing it, and then it turns out like doo-doo. So yeah, My biggest advice that I can give you for starting out is use reference, because for the longest time I didn't use reference at all and everything looked terrible. So something I also wanted to talk about is my journey through making art in general. It started a long time ago, not in a galaxy far, far away. I think it was when I was around 8 or 9 years old. I started making a series of Minecraft, like, comics with, like, crayons. No joke, I drew it with crayons. I might still have them, I might not, I don't remember. I have this big basket of just paper. Tons of paper with tons of art that I've made throughout the years. It is a lot. I have tons of sketchbooks that are just filled out, and yeah, I think it would be fun to make a video someday of me just going through all my old stuff. I've always had this tendency to shoot higher than I can go at a certain point. Like, my ambition is higher than my actual skill level. When I was doing the Minecraft comics, I distinctly remember this. They were always only like a few pages long, and keep in mind, every single page was one drawing. It wasn't like the whole split up thing that actual comics do. So it wasn't even a comic, it was more so a picture book. But like, each page was a full artwork thing. I had this tendency when I was drawing to just draw everything 2D. So all my comics had no dynamic anything to them. It was all just 2D. Everything was a side profile. It looked really weird. Especially with Minecraft characters. I think almost every frame, there was staring head on while doing stuff. I also didn't know how to spell, so a lot of things were spelled incorrectly. Whenever there was dialogue, there was very little dialogue in any of those. So again, more picture book than comic. All my Minecraft comics were just like a few pages long, and then I decided, oh, I want to make like a big one. So I plan to do a 50-page Minecraft comic. I did like 2 pages, and then I quit. Like, I didn't do any of that. I planned it, didn't go through with it. Probably because I was doing other stuff, and I was a child, and I didn't care. Really. I wasn't that serious about it. But it was really fun, and I liked just drawing and making stuff. So I moved on from doing Minecraft comics at a certain point. I got back into making comics, and I did Sonic. I'm not as big of a Sonic fan as I used to be, but for a while there, I was really into Sonic, and I made a lot of Sonic comics. I got really good at them, and I was actually going to make a series of comics detailing, like, Sonic 1, the entire thing, but I never did. I made the first part, and I never finished it. I didn't even color it, and I never planned on doing it because it would be easier not to color it just so I could draw it and then it'd be done. It's like a Sonic manga, basically, except it reads like a regular comic book, so it's actually just a black and white comic book. It's just not a manga. I also made Undertale comics that were cringe. For a while there, I used to have these things where, like, I was really into one specific thing at the time, and I just made stuff about that thing until I got bored of it. So I guess that's what happened. Now I don't really do that anymore. I guess that's a good thing. I guess that's a good thing. Yeah, proper grammar there. My journey basically started with making Minecraft comics. It all started when I was freaking 8 years old, and now I'm 18, literally 10 years later, and I'm still doing the same thing that I was doing 10 years ago. That's amazing to me, and actually it may have been even when I was 7, so 11 years ago. 7-11. Yeah, 10 years ago, I decided to make comics, and then I was like, whoa, I like doing this. And then I continued doing it, and I continued doing it until I'm here. So that's awesome. So yeah, I definitely do want to make a video about my older stuff, just looking through it. I'm not really sure how to do that because I don't have a good camera. Maybe just set up my phone somewhere, I don't know. Yeah, just looking through my old artworks and comics and just to see how far I've gotten, because it's really fun to look back at what you've done and see how far you've gotten. That's always just a super nice feeling to have, and I legitimately don't think, even if I wasn't really saved back then either, but I wasn't all in it for God back then, but I still think God planned it out. God still gave all that to me and had me do all of that so I could be here now and do this. That's what I believe, and I think that's awesome just to think about. I am very happy with this artwork, but I do think there is still a lot of issues with it, but you're always going to think that. You're always going to look back at what you've done and think, oh, there's something I could have fixed. And I do admit I was kind of rushing a little bit because I wanted to get all these done, and I did. I actually got all of these artworks done within a month, which is an insane pace for me because I am a professional procrastinator. It says it in my bio. I am a certified procrastinator. I do think the perspective on the helmet is very strange looking, but It's not awful, and it's only really apparent if you mirror the image. And even then, it's not terrible looking, so I just left it as is, because I really couldn't be bothered with trying to fix it, so... Which is probably not a good, like, perspective to have, but still, I wanted to get it done, and it still looks good. The finished product still looks good, so it's not really that big of an issue. But yeah, that's about all I had to say about all of this, because I have more to say about the next drawing. Oh, the one more thing I wanted to say is I'm really happy with what I did with her torso on the armor. How it's this sort of, like, mimics musculature in a way, and it like curves downward like that. I think that's a really cool design. I always love when armor and stuff mimics organic appearances, even if it's not like a bio suit, which I think bio armor is awesome, but even if it's not bio armor, I think metal, just pure metal armor that mimics the look of musculature is really cool, and that's what I wanted to do here. Background for this is a little more in-depth. I found a bunch of images on Pinterest of just like background elements, just like random designs and stuff that you can just put in the background, and that's what I used, and I think it looks cool. Has this more spacey look to it, and I think that's awesome. So yeah, that's about all I had to say about this. I have more to say about the next one, even if the next one is actually simpler than this artwork, but still. This artwork was really fun to make, and it took the longest out of all of them, I think. It was really cool, and I'm super happy with it, and I hope you are as well. But yeah, again, that's about all I had to say, so see ya. The character you're seeing right now is a character that I've made named Gretchen. She is a 7'4" Russian grizzly bear woman who also weighs like 600 pounds or something. Gretchen was actually a character that I made a long time ago, and I've actually drawn her on the channel before. You can see a drawing of her in my community tab post, alongside her husband, who isn't present for this drawing. I'm not used to drawing furries or really animals at all, so doing snouts and the general face shape that animals have is difficult for me to draw. My battle with perspective continues with this drawing as I struggle to make the face actually look symmetrical. I do think the finished product is still a little weird looking, but I did try my best. One of the reasons why I wanted to draw this character specifically is because she is included in another one of my creations. But before I talk about that, I want to discuss who Gretchen is. Gretchen is the type of woman to pick on you and tease you a bit, but she only does it because she loves you. Gretchen is a very powerful woman, and she is a strong protector and fighter. If you hadn't noticed, I have a sort of thing for strong women. There's also another facet of her character which is very strange. That is, she is a pseudo-true hermaphrodite. Is that how you pronounce it?
Hermaphrodite.
Okay, apparently that is how you pronounce it. And I don't mean intersex. That's not what I mean by that. It's just the word that I use to describe it. Essentially, she is a woman with schlong. I have quite a few characters that are like this. I find these weird oddities and like genetic mutations and stuff really interesting, like albinism. I think that's really cool. Giantism's really cool. Vitiligo, all these like little things are just really interesting to me. But this version of hermaphroditism is my own version of it, so. But anyway, what it is a woman, a female, XX chromosome, born with both the male and female reproductive systems. They both function correctly, however, one of the main things is that she doesn't produce any sperm. She is able to have children, but she's not able to make others have children, because that would be strange. Their hormone production is split in between their ovaries and their testes. I'm trying to be as scientific as possible with this, but I feel like it still sounds weird. Hopefully I don't get demonetized for this. But anyway, the hormone production is split up between the two, which is why if you remove a hermaphrodite's balls, she won't produce her hormones correctly, so don't do that. However, what Gretchen is she is a true hermaphrodite, which is a genetic mutation of that genetic mutation which causes her to have only the male reproductive system. She still has internal ovaries, but she does not possess a, well, for lack of a better term, hoo-ha. Also, yes, the woman with a schloryngus is married to a man and is also a Christian. If you think that facet of her character is weird, you'd be right. However, I do not care, and I'm not going to change it. So haha.
Anyway, if you're kind of grossed out by that, I don't blame you, but I'm going to talk about something else now. Anyway, going back to the main reason why I wanted to draw her in the first place is because I specifically wanted to talk about one of the other stories that I've made that she is featured in. And the story that she's featured in is Arcadia. I have written the actual description for what Arcadia is, so if what I'm talking about sounds more clear and concise, that's because it's scripted. I'm now going to tell you what Arcadia is, so strap in. When God made the world and everything in it, he created all people with the ability to make and tell stories. Wanting a place to store those stories, God created the realm of Arcadia, and specifically a library called the Eternal Athenaeum. The Athenaeum holds all, and I mean all, fictional stories, characters, and other fictional material ever created by humankind. That also means that AI-generated material is not stored in the Athenaeum because it wasn't directly created by humans. The Athenaeum, which I will be referring to as just the library from now on, is led by multiple librarians specializing in many different genres. And each of those librarians get stories that are lined up with their genre, and they catalog. The master archivist of the library is a woman named Madison. Madison is the one who oversees, checks, and keeps together all the records of the library. She's the primary leader, and she's the one who checks up on the other librarians to see if they're doing their job correctly. She is the one who decides where the fictional worlds are located within Arcadia. She is also the mayor of the Nexus, which is located directly in the middle of Arcadia and acts as a massive center point between all fictional worlds. Madison actually isn't her real name, it's just the name she goes by as of now. In the past, she's gone by Gabriella, Serena, Victoria, 𝒴𝒫𝒫ℐ𝒩𝒢, and many more. The reason she has so many names is because her real name is virtually unknowable. She knows her own name, but when she speaks it, it comes out as a garbled mess. Lip reading also doesn't work in trying to figure out what her name is. The same goes for all the other librarians. Only the librarians can hear and say and understand their own names. The librarians can change their appearance at will, and they also do not have defined sexes. Despite this, they tend to stay the same. Well, most of them. Madison has changed her appearance many times throughout the thousands of years she has existed. She has generally kept her red hair throughout all of them, but the slightly shorter and more gothic appearance she has now is relatively new for her. The Arcadian realms are essentially little bubbles all over this expansive void, and all these bubbles contain the environments and people that reside within these fictional stories. Say Half-Life 2 for instance. Since it is a video game, its world is incomplete, with exposed geometry outside of the regular view. Each map would normally be contained in its own space and file, however, in Arcadia, things are a little different. Each map's entrance and exit points connect to each other perfectly. This creates a massive interconnected map with no loading screens. Now wouldn't that be awesome? Although your computer might explode. A downside of connecting the maps this way is when the maps overlap each other, they create a sort of non-Euclidean space. Let me try and visualize it for you. Say you have 3 maps that connect to each other, and when connected, they form a ring. One map is the starting area. One map is the starting area, and the other 2 create the rest of the ring. However, the rooms at the end of the 2 maps overlap. So, when these maps are connected, the rooms at the end occupy the same space, allowing you to walk down one corridor and end up in one room, while walking around the other corridor leads you to a different room. This allows you to technically be in 2 different spaces at once while only being in one. It also allows you to no-clip, teleport, or glitch into the other space even without trying to. This can cause complications, however most people just use it as a faster way to get around. All of these interconnected worlds, all existing in their own bubbles, applies to all other stories, including live-action sets and locations, written worlds, and other games as well. The only things that aren't connected in their own bubbles are areas that are already not physically connected to each other. This especially applies to Garry's Mod, where all of the maps that exist and have been created for Garry's Mod specifically all exist within that bubble, but they're all separate from each other, kind of like how Interloper uses the source void. Another interesting facet of Arcadia is that there just simply isn't a complete replica of Earth, because when it comes to fictional stories, if it isn't shown or talked about, it doesn't exist. Which means that within things like the FNAF universe, Utah is the only thing that exists. That's kind of funny. It's not even mentioning whatever the hell's going on with FNAF World. Arcadia also doesn't have a actual economy, because when you have everything available to you through things like the Garry's Mod tool gun and the virtually infinite spawn menu that comes with it, you don't need money for anything. Death also doesn't mean anything because anytime someone dies, they just respawn. Arcadia is a complete and utter utopia, which is actually kind of what Arcadia means to an extent. All in all, Arcadia would allow me to have crossovers between all of my different stories and possibly other people's stories if I'm lucky. It is essentially an infinite playground where I can do whatever I want without having it make complete sense. I have so many ideas for games set within this world of worlds, specifically a game titled The Arcadian Arena, which is why I wanted to draw Gretchen in the first place. The Arcadian Arena is a crossbreed between arena shooters like Quake and Unreal Tournament and hero shooters like Marvel Rivals. And hero shooters like Marvel Rivals. And hero shooters like Marvel Rivals or Overwatch, focused on fast-paced combat and player collaboration. Somewhat. Kind of like Team Fortress 2, except more hero shooter and less gore. It would feature many characters that I have made, as well as characters from mythology and fairy tales, as well as things like Steamboat Willie, since he's public domain, and even characters and maps that other people could submit and officially add to the game, through voting on Discord or YouTube or whatever. I do want to elaborate more on what the Arcadian Arena is or could be, but I'll save that for another time, because this video is already really long. So I'll just leave you with my idea for Gretchen's stats for the game. Her official title is Gretchen the Grizzly Huntswoman. She is class Bruiser. She is 46 years old. She is 7'4" and she weighs 625 pounds. I might change that to just literally being a ton because I think that's a better number, but she's 625 pounds as of right now, and that's still pretty heavy. She is technically lighter than a Spartan though. The weapons that she would use is her fists. She doesn't need any weapons. Her primary ability is that she would run forward and grab anyone in front of her. This can be up to 3 people. Throws them on the ground and smashes them with her hands repeatedly. If this ability isn't interrupted or cancelled, it is a guaranteed kill, so don't get in her way. I also think having dual abilities with characters that are related to each other or know each other in some way, so she would have some kind of dual ability with her husband Allard, which I don't know what that could be. If you have any ideas, feel free to give me any, and feel free to criticize these stats as hard as you want. Her secondary abilities would be that she can pick up heavy objects and people and throw them. She would be able to pick up cars around the map and other large physics objects. She would also be able to grab members of her own team and chuck them, being good for surprise attacks. One of her secondary abilities is she can use bear spray to disorient enemies. I think that's kind of funny, but I don't really think that would work for a tank style character, so I'll probably change that. I want the environments of this hypothetical game to be like fully destructible, kind of like the finals. So she would just be able to punch through walls like a freaking maniac. But yeah, remember all of this is hypothetical, and if you have any better ideas, please give them to me. Things can always be improved, and I am open to your criticism. Okay, I want to get real for a second. One of the main things I want to do with this channel is make a community. A place where you can tune in, see what's going on, and interact with the people who love the same things you do. There's so much stress, so much anxiety, and so much just evil in the world around us. So I want to build a safe space where people can interact and have fun. I want to open a Discord server eventually where people from almost anywhere can join and communicate with each other. I want to use the internet the way it should be used, not to spread hate or blasphemy, but love, peace, and joy. If I'm creating a game or animation or whatever, I could hold contests for designs, characters, mechanics, etc. I'd want the things I create to feel like they were created by a community, by you. And if you want to be a part of that community, then leave a like and subscribe to show your support. But remember, things probably won't come quickly. I'm still learning a lot and I have a long way to go, but this is what I plan to do and this is what I want to do. And I believe if I hold steadfast and keep the faith, God will make it happen in some way, shape, or form. And if you're still listening to this, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. You don't know how much it means to me that you're still listening to me yap. I hope that what I've talked about here has inspired you in some way, whether it was my talk of salvation, or my art, or my ideas. Whatever it was, I hope you had a good time here, and I hope to see you again soon. And in case I don't see you again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And don't forget, Jesus loves you.